All right, welcome back, everybody. Mona Bolsi, we're here with Hey Huzi and the esteemed Nathan Swift yet again. And we're going to be talking about something interesting today. For years, we're told that AI was about ideas, it was about coding, it was about algorithms, it was about all these different things that we just couldn't understand, right? It lives in these systems and somewhere out in the mystical realm. But when you don't own the hardware and your intelligence just is a guest in someone else's house, that's when things start to change. When you build a website, you don't know where the server is that is housing it. It's a public server, it's a private server. I know guys that literally have private servers within their homes that they're hosting their stuff because they just don't believe in the cloud system. When you don't have that type of situation, things are kind of out there in the world and we don't really know what's taking place. And there's a power shift. So who has the best idea versus who has the most hardware, who has the most cooling fans? And the moment that we realize that AI ethics are just a luxury only those with physical infrastructure can afford, then what does the average person get? How do we maintain agency when your entire cognitive output relies on server farm guarded by private satellites? That's kind of like what we're talking about today. It's a little over both of our heads. I'm going to be frank with you, but it's also one of those conversations that is so important to have because most people, they go the day to day and they realize that gas prices are going up, but they don't understand the mechanism behind why gas prices are going up. They don't really dive deep into that. We're not going to dive too deep, but we want to give you at least a lay of the land of what's taking place. Okay, there's a paradox in this whole thing, and we're tearing up the planet to build a bigger processor. And the way that I look at it is we're kind of leading ourselves. Our civilization is being led to this dystopian world. I don't know if you're with me on that, Nate, but that's kind of like where I see this whole thing starting to shift. We're betting the soul of the earth on the hope that the machine will eventually give us the answer. That's what's scary here. I'm speaking in philosophical terms, but we're about to get into the technical stuff, which is really about what is going on with all of these different AI systems. Anthropic, you have OpenAI, you have Grok, SpaceX, you have the billionaires of the billionaires and soon to be trillionaires and what's going on. It's pretty crazy. I know you know what we're talking about, Nate, but man, this was an overwhelming read for sure. You think?
Yeah, I don't know if I do know what you're talking about. Like you said, it's way over our heads, but it was very interesting to dive into and look at.
Yeah.
Some of the things that I uncovered were, yeah, I mean, they don't give you the most hope, but they don't take it all away.
Yeah, very, very true. So here's the good news, folks, is that, everybody's complaining about speed and wait times. If you've ever used a software like Claude AI, like Claude Code, on the free plan or the pro plan or the max plan, doesn't matter. There's always some sort of limit, especially during times where everybody's using it. These most opportune times, these crazy times, they say. Well, they had just launched and released a press statement stating that they had done a deal with Elon Musk and SpaceX, and the fact that they're able to now house and expand their data centers by essentially leveraging and using theirs.
Yeah, I think this is probably a good spot to set the stage because prior to AI blowing up, there wasn't a whole lot of rate limits either. There wasn't a whole lot of people using AI when it first came out. Those had to be introduced when they didn't have the bandwidth to keep up with all of the hundreds of millions of queries a day and
Yeah.
training their own data models to become more efficient and better and specific and safe. So those things is what really caused the rate limits. And Anthropic, if you look at Elon Musk and Anthropic's history, Elon Musk was not a fan of Anthropic back in the day, right? He said they might actually be against humanity, even though Anthropic means humans, and there's this whole parallel of humans and Earth working together because we're the ones observing. That's where the Anthropic name came from. So they're a human-first company. They wanted safety regulations and guardrails as they were building. Elon was like, why do that? There's going to be somebody that gets there first, whether it's a good person or a bad person, build the safety regulations after. It's kind of like the whole atomic bomb situation. If we don't build it, somebody else is, and it's going to be in the wrong hands. So that was his thinking on that. But as soon as, a multi-billion-dollar deal got offered to him before SpaceX's IPO in the fall, he took everything bad, said he never saw an evil person there when he toured the facility. So it was kind of a change of opinion when money got thrown at him. But it's the way for everybody.
Yeah.
And in this perspective too, Elon gets what he wants because Anthropic wanted those safety guardrails, but now that Elon owns the infrastructure, he kind of controls a little bit of the say in how Anthropic moves forward.
That's the scary part. We look at the positive, right? Because I was on Anthropic's website yesterday and I was looking at their rate limits. And you know what? Let me just pull it up so I'm not just guessing here. Let me see here. So let's just look at maximum output tokens per minute. If we look at the top tier or the bottom tier, they're going from their standard 8. So 8 would be 80,000, 90 would be 200, 160 is 400, and 400 is 800. And it just keeps going and going and going. And so they're almost quadrupling. It honestly, not even. This is probably, it goes from a 10x to like a 5x to then as the numbers get bigger, you're still like 4xing the amount of tokens per input per minute. So that the partnership from that standpoint in terms of like being able to work and develop is crazy, because it's up to, I don't know how many gigawatts that they have in agreement. But I know that they have agreements with Amazon, they have agreements with Google, they have agreements with, don't they have agreements with OpenAI? Am I wrong? I know they
Yeah,
did a
they
partnership
have
with
partnerships with Amazon, Microsoft. Yeah, they have it with everybody who's building a data center. Anthropic has some kind of at least 1 gigawatt, megawatt deal with them.
Okay, but it sounds like SpaceX is going to be the compute partner for all these LLMs, all these AI
Yeah.
companies.
So SpaceX with Anthropic, I'm probably a pretty exclusive deal to be able to use that facility.
One,
Colossus wanted to, right? So 300 megawatts, that's powers the size of a city the size of Seattle. And then 220,000 GPUs.
yeah.
Pretty large.
You got to look at the selection pressure here because it's not just a business deal between Anthropic and SpaceX. It's a really high stakes pivot in terms of evolution and where we're heading. 100 years, 200 years ago, everybody was into power and land, and then it was gold. What is the resource? I mean, we're leading into, and then machines, and I think the ultimate resource everybody's gonna fight over is going to be water, right? I don't know. God, I hope it's not here. Did you ever see? This was a few years ago. It was during the time where the folks that were canning water, there was an adjacent company or startup or something that was selling mountain air in a can and like actually got investments and started making some money and people were buying into it. Like it was absolute lunacy. Just air from a mountain that they would plug it into. I'm going to look it up and try to put the B-roll on this podcast.
Yeah,
It was,
yeah, man.
bro, I couldn't believe it. Yeah, just wild. Absolutely wild. Anyways, I kind of feel that we're looking at the end of this decentralized dream, essentially. The barrier for entry is not intelligence anymore. It's gigawatts. It's physical territory. It's the realization that if you don't own the dirt the computer sits on, you don't really own anything. You
Yeah.
don't own anything that it produces.
It's exactly right. It's like Facebook being the platform and everybody having their own voice and opinion on it and then getting shadow banned or kind of pushed under the
Or
rug
yeah,
because they didn't like your opinions or they didn't like your voice. So you build your product on somebody else's platform and they can just shut you down next day.
this takes it even a step further. That's scary.
It is
'Cause this
scary. It
This
is
is this
scary.
is the ground. This is the dirt,
Yeah. And then Elon Musk saying, he said, yeah, we're going to build our data centers on satellites and deploy a million satellites into space. We'll get solar power without the diffusion of it through the Earth's atmosphere. And
Oh
in
my God.
in the vacuum of space, you won't need water to cool the GPUs. The only problems there were, well, how do you fix anything if anything breaks? It's like salt water, like putting one at the bottom of the ocean. You're inadvertently now warming the water in the ocean. The salt water is corrosive. How do you fix it? All that kind of stuff. So kind of down the rabbit hole I went.
Yeah, no. You nailed it on the head, man. It's an absolute paradox. We're tearing up the earth to build a bigger processor so that we can ask a chatbot on how to save the planet.
Dude, in 2021, Google,
Yeah.
Microsoft, one of them was like, oh, we could, be 200% more efficient with our power grids and everything. And then their emissions immediately increased 50% for that year because of all the AI output that they were producing, which was like, okay, you're not saving energy. It might in the long term, but I don't know. Once you start that slippery slope, it's optimize, just more
Man,
and more.
we're just monkeys playing with a sun-sized flashlight, bro.
Yeah.
We're just pointing it right in our own eyes and blinding ourselves, saying, "Look how bright it is, everybody! Yay!"
Yeah. Yeah.
I understand the convenience. Obviously, you and we work in artificial intelligence. We work for an organization, who's the AI, that uses all of the LLMs and every AI at our disposal to build a fantastic platform and service and software and tools. So I get it. I understand. But like, at what point are you sacrificing convenience for
I mean, it's completely inevitable. And you're right. We're working in the AI space, then we can talk poorly about the AI space. But everybody works in some sort of way for the government. And I guarantee you, everybody said something poor about their government at some
Of
point.
course.
You
Of
know, it's the
course.
same exact thing. I don't have to be with this, but I do have to make a living.
No, no, I'm with you. I'm with you. You know, there are moments like this where I remember that I'm nothing more than a blip in this existence, and I am a little tiny speck of dust in such an enormous galaxy upon galaxies
Yeah.
that like really you just have to it's hard to zoom out. It's really hard to zoom out. Everybody's so into themselves. Everybody's so affected with everything that happens to them because we're all self-serving. I don't care what you say, we're all self-serving. Some more than others, what have you.
Yeah.
But
And we're
what
creatures
happens
of convenience, too.
percent. And that's why I really want to have this conversation. In fact, it's making me believe, everybody listening, it's making me really want to have conversations like these because yes, we do the talks and instructions, and we're going to give you a video a week that's going to help you solve and answer questions relative to who's the AI and any kind of tech talk. But we need to have these conversations too. It's important because I don't know where else people are getting this info. And if they are getting this info, are they able to digest it? And how are they actually digesting it? Does it make sense to them? I think this is really important. I want to, I want to be able to have these talks because if you look at like what's the one thing that these machines will ever be able to simulate? Yeah, at some point I think we're going to be able, I think maybe humans are going to devolve as machines evolve. And these are questions that people are freaked out about. But then you look at where we're at in society today in terms of what is happening right now. You can almost see the next 10 years, don't you think? You can almost see it. Like especially in this space, in technology, like where we're heading in the next 10 years. I don't know if we've ever had such a leap in tech advancement. I don't know, like 100 years since the atomic bomb or something. I have no idea. I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm not a scientist, but
I
this,
kind of dove into this part a little bit.
please.
There's no regulations when things move this fast. I mean, there's no regulations when things move 100 times slower than this. So there's a couple of times in history where we had like the railroads. You know, we were just building railroads. We were doing a bunch of land grab. The government was like, yeah, build. We got to explore. Took a bunch of land. And then next one we had was the oil. So we had oil. And Rockefeller got there first and then basically set up the data centers for the oil. Anybody who struck oil after that had to use his pipelines to be able to sell the oil, right? So he was still taking a cut in anything that anybody was selling as far as oil goes. I'm talking like 90% of the market. Like he had just about everything. So Carnegie and Rockefeller killed it there. And then we had Zuckerberg, whose Facebook platform, grew in a week and 10 years to hundreds of millions of users. I mean, this is where we started to see the mental health crisis. Because we had unregulated style of social media platforms, quick hits, instant gratification, data harvesting of the individual, keeping them engaged, whether it was like incredibly negative on their mental health or if it was a positive on their mental health. Whatever kept them on the screen longer, it didn't matter what it was. Right. And now we have AI, which is the cognitive thinking, truly like at every human's their consciousness, the way that they are creative and the way that they think and deploy their ideas onto social media platforms, which was, 2005, 2010. Now, what are you even writing on those cognitively thinking about before you post it? We're going like a layer deeper into the human with AI, and that's a scary thought to think about. Unregulated, environmentally, mental health wise, cognitively. We don't know the long-term effects. We don't know the environmental hazards that it's produced. I mean, we do know. I dove into that as well. It was also not looking great, but, when things grow this fast, it's really hard to stop, and the money basically speaks. Like wherever the money goes, the states, the governments, they need it. It's hard to regulate when everybody's racing to be the first and soak up all that money. And the states and the governments that need it are like, yeah, you can build your data centers here. We need the money for the government, but then you're gonna need water for the state as well. You're just one trade-off for the next. So it's kind of difficult to wrap your mind around at some points when you're thinking about the decay of humans and Earth for robots and technology.
And also from a logistics and business standpoint, you also have to consider that, AI is increasingly being controlled by companies that can lock down enormous infrastructure deals. So if they're able to do this, when it comes to compute, that becomes the bottleneck, and startups, smaller players in the space, they're definitely going to have a harder time competing, even if they have better ideas, even if their execution is better, even if, doesn't matter. It kind of overshadows the whole thing.
There's not going to be a competitive landscape that any person born in 2015 is not going to be the CEO of the next biggest AI. It's the exponential growth that technology applies to itself, where you have to have billions and billions of dollars. You have to have the infrastructure set up. You have to be able to use the infrastructure. You have to deploy the agent. It's too much money for, I guess the only way to do it was be like the golf league, PGA, and what was the other one? Live. And
Right.
Saudi Arabia was able to pay all you guys. We'll start this whole league and we'll take all the golfers, right? But they had so much money. Nobody coming into the market space is going to have something like that. That was all developed off of years and years and years of the oil industry.
So you don't think it's going to be similar to what happened so we went from the .com era to the social media era. Social media became the new TV. MySpace was, I guess technically the first, let's just say that, but Facebook came in and dominated. But then
Well, there's a very brief time where people could sit in their garage and create something that was incredible. There was a very brief time of people actually able to do that. That's
like
over.
the Amazons of the world.
Yeah, that's no longer a thing.
So you think that era is past?
If you're talking at scale to being able to own what AI is built on.
I understand that there's a level of intelligence and understanding and experience that is attached to it. But in 20 years, is that going to matter? In 50 years, is that going to matter?
Look at it this way too. The cognitive decay that we're experiencing right now is like when the GPS, we talked about this, GPS came out for you. I lost my whole sense of direction, right? Couldn't really read a map. There were studies showing that if you had somebody drive from point A to point B, could they get back to point A and get back to point B a week later without using a GPS? No. So once GPSs came out, we actually stopped using the part of the brain that helped us navigate, because we always relied on something. So they stopped firing. So when we're doing that with AI and we're growing up in this world of AI and we're being taught and trained and led by AI and the chats, when they're finishing our sentences for us, framing our statements for us, are you going to have as much creativity of your own thoughts, or is it going to be basically what you're fed and learning in school with AI and everything being integrated into basically, kindergarten through college through career? If you think about it that way, you're declining in cognitive efficiency while still trying to talk about being creative and optimizing or innovating something new, which is, the gap gets wider and wider and wider.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to rain on your parade, but that's the way I thought about it when that question came up. It's
not raining on my parade. It's kind of, it's a little overwhelming to think about. The other thing that you don't even think about are what this is going to do to communities, the actual physical infrastructure. Because I think there was one of the news subjects that I read about was that the Memphis facility that is tied to this deal, there's just a lot of people just pissed. Natural gas turbines are going to increase the amount of pollution. There's a lot of protests happening. So you have to think about that. Then you have to think about the geopolitical stance, right? But let's put that to the side right now and talk about what it would actually do physically what it would actually do to physical infrastructure. What if you were in these communities? What does that do? Air pollution, increased traffic, quality of life. Will it increase jobs? I don't think so. They're just fucking boxes lined up full of circuits, connected with wires. You don't need a lot of people.
No job creation by data centers. Yeah.
That's what what I'm saying?
Besides the actual building of the data center itself, with the electricians and the infrastructure that goes into it, no job. It's not an Amazon warehouse. It's compute.
It's literally just football fields of computers.
Yeah. And it's so misleading. A closed loop system with water for cooling the GPUs, for cooling all the technology that's inside of it, right? It's not a closed loop.
No,
it's not closed loop at all. Not only is it not closed loop, but they have to, air evaporates and it's warm air, bacteria builds up. They have to put solutions in there that kill the bacteria. They also have to put solution in there that help not corrode as the water's going through the system. And then at some point, when all that water evaporates, it doesn't carry out all of the chemicals that they put in there. People are getting pneumonia traced back to data centers from this already.
Are you kidding?
No, all that sludge that's inside of the data center from all the chemicals they put, 18 million gallons have to be dispersed somewhere at some point to clean the system, shut it down, do the cleaning, and then bring 18 million gallons back in.
Where are they dispersing it?
Where do you think? Where do
No
you think?
way.
No regulations, man. It's no regulations. It's moving too fast for people to know the outcomes in 5 years before they can put in something in place that says, hey, we have to do it this way before we poison an entire community. I mean, companies have poisoned communities knowingly before. Government has poisoned communities knowing before and done
Yeah,
absolutely nothing about it because of profit.
right. It's just
Okay?
another, yeah, it's another radiation waste
Yeah,
situation.
so if you think that because Anthropic wants to be safety first, being built on Elon's, and I'm not saying Elon's a bad guy, but thinking about this logically, people are pissed in Memphis. It's like clothing companies. Hey, we source it, awesome, no slave labor, and then we outsource it to Indonesia, or we outsource it to India, or we outsource it to wherever, where these sweatshops are working 22-hour days, getting paid pennies on the dollar, and you're selling it in America or wherever for, $40 for a pair of underwear. You don't get to say that for marketing purposes, knowing that the back end of the product is destroying somebody somewhere. Like the transparency needs to be there to be able to actually build the regulations before people just start growing extra eyeballs
Seriously.
and dying from, I don't know, one man filling his pocket just from breathing air. You're literally just going to try and breathe some air. It's not even like you're spending all your money and you're going into poverty. Your environment is not going to be suited to be able to maintain your livelihood.
Oh, man.
Rant over. I might have another one coming up though.
I don't know. I'm already depressed.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess the good news, if we wanted to label it good, you're going to have more reliable AI tools. You're going to have fewer usage caps because Anthropic has tied this deal directly to higher limits and less throttling. So for businesses and creators, that means more stable workflows. Hey, fewer
Yeah.
interruptions. Woo.
More token usage.
More token usage. But I guess if I'm being honest, there is a broader upside also. I think that large computing agreements can help frontier labs ship better products faster. Again, let's put to the side all the negative stuff because if they handle the regulation and if they keep up with everything that's happening and this thing starts to kind of catch up, yes, then it would be pretty cool because that can cascade into stronger coding tools, research tools, business opportunities, cures for cancer, you name it. Right? But you're kind of dancing with the devil at this point
Yeah.
to make it happen.
Yeah. You're going to have to go through a really big valley to figure out what the efficiencies are that are needed to be
Walking
able to
over
do
a
the
lot of
things that you want
corpses.
to
Yep.
do.
In terms of what we're having to do and what people are having to do, these companies are having to do, we are walking over corpses to be able to build something that could potentially destroy us. So it's a little disheartening. Is it worth the upside? I don't know, folks. I don't know, man. I'm kind of, I think that the good we all get is better AI. That's pretty much like that's the upside: faster distribution, faster building of things, faster cures of things. The bad is that there's companies that get more control, which leads to a whole lot of unregulated nonsense. And then the ugly is that there's hidden costs of this at every expense to everyone and anything in the planet. Pollution, influence that is concentrated towards one angle. You don't disappear just because a product feels magical. You don't just ignore it because it's solving your day to day. You can't be that ignorant. And if you are, I feel sorry for you. You can't be unaware of where things are heading. So I'm hoping that this conversation at least had given you a concept of the reality in which we live in. I don't know, Nate, do you have anything else to say? Because I'm pretty much at the end of this thing.
No, the negatives are real heavy.
Yeah.
Positives, I mean, I'm speaking as negatives weigh really heavy on like your mind and your heart. Positives make you feel really light and really good.
Well, yeah.
And it's really difficult to find the positives in this. The guys up top, they can always make the promises of what the positives will be, but how much sludge do we have to go through to get there? How expensive do our energy bills have to get? How expensive do our water bills have to get? How depleted do the environments have to get before? And how much cancer are we causing before we solve before we solve the cancer for people who have it already? Yeah.
Again, it's a paradox. It's an absolute paradox. It's just, yeah. Well,
Yeah. That's all I got. That's all I got for today.
that's all we got, folks. All right. So thank you all for being here today. We'll try to have a nicer conversation for the next one. One that
Yeah,
doesn't, one that doesn't make you too sad.
Maybe we'll work on some AI workflows or something.
Yeah. You guys are interested as always, head on to whoozy.ai. Check us out, request a call, get some more info, email nate@whoozy.ai if you have any questions, and have a wonderful weekend. Nate?
Have a wonderful weekend. Don't think too much.
Seriously. Peace out.